Welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're digging into a text called Talking About Jesus. Specifically, we want to unpack how it presents the idea of Jesus as king.
Right. It's a pretty central theme in this particular source.
So our mission is basically to pull out the key insights from this text about this, well, unique kind of kingship and what the source suggests it means for you, the reader.
Sounds good. Let's jump in.
Okay.
Well, what strikes you first, I think, is how this text defines this king's authority. It's very clear it's not about, land or armies.
Not physical territory.
Exactly. It says it's a rule over heart, soul, and mind. That's the domain.
Heart, soul, and mind.
Okay. And the immediate insight, the paradox really, is that this isn't power through force. The source says it's power through love.
Okay. Not command from pride.
But from mercy, that's the word it uses. It calls the reign tender, holy, and everlasting.
Tender, holy, everlasting. That sets up quite a contrast, doesn't it? Because the source then immediately warns against other kinds of rulers.
It does. It explicitly says not to let earthly kings rule my heart.
And it names them, right? Like kings of power, wealth, ambition.
And self, yes. And it's not just listing bad habits. The text frames these as actual rival rulers.
Competing for loyalty.
Exactly. Competing rulers that, promise fulfillment, but according to the source, leave you empty in the end.
Offering only those fleeting things, pulling you away from the everlasting reign you mentioned.
Right. It pulls you away. So the text puts a direct challenge out there. Where are you actually placing your ultimate loyalty, your desire?
Which naturally raises that question the source tackles. What or who gets your devotion?
Mm-hmm. And the argument in the text is that if you give that worship, that loyalty to these changeable worldly kings.
The temporary ones.
Yeah, the temporary ones. You're basically giving away what the source claims belongs only to this everlasting king. It really emphasizes the difference between chasing fleeting satisfaction and finding something permanent.
Okay, permanence. So how does this King Jesus actually rule then, according to the source, if it's not armies and land?
Well, it describes his power as the force that shapes your heart, guides your steps. It leads with grace and truth.
Grace and truth.
And here's maybe the most counterintuitive part. The text says this king conquers not with the sword, but with the cross.
Not with the sword, but with the cross. That's a powerful image. What does that imply?
Well, the source seems to suggest victory comes through sacrifice, through internal transformation, not external imposition.
So rule within.
Yes, rule within. It says, in his presence, fears are silenced, the soul finds a peace the world can't offer.
A different kind of
A
peace.
totally different kind. It's about governing your desires, thoughts, actions. The source says he draws you back when you're tempted, keeps you in step with his righteous rule, even when the world shifts around you.
And this internal rule, it seems, brings joy.
Yes, but again, a specific kind. The text calls it true and lasting joy.
Why?
Because, according to the source, this king makes all things right. He sees the broken, hears the forgotten, lifts the humble. That's the claim.
Justice and mercy meet, it says.
Justice and mercy meet, and that phrase, holiness is not a burden, but a delight. That feels like a core insight.
A different view on holiness, yeah.
Yeah.
Not just rules, but delight.
And the source links this joy directly to belonging. It's not about earning your keep like a servant.
No.
No, it says you're welcomed as a beloved child accepted by grace. So the throne is presented as a place of welcome, not fear.
Acceptance and safety. So the joy isn't just external circumstances being fixed, but internal security.
That seems to be the idea presented here, yes.
Okay, so if we pull all this together, this tender reign, the contrast with worldly desires, the power through the cross, the internal rule, the joy, the belonging, what's the response the source calls for?
It concludes with a pretty clear call to action. It's about bowing in love, following in faith.
Not just a one-time thing, presumably.
No, integrating it into every part of my life is the phrasing. It means laying down your own pride, my plans, my worries.
And instead,
Rising to walk in his ways, reflecting his love, serving others humbly. Your life itself becomes the expression of this inner kingdom, according to this text.
so connecting the dots from this source, it paints a picture of a kingship working on completely different principles than earthly power, right?
Absolutely. Offering peace, joy, belonging, but through surrender, through devotion. And it calls for a whole life response.
We've unpacked this source's view then. Kingship based on love, mercy, contrasted with worldly goals. a vision of peace found in surrender.
A consistent theme throughout this particular text.
Right. So to leave you with a final thought, drawn directly from the end of this source material, it looks forward, doesn't it? It anticipates seeing this king face to face, joining a heavenly chorus.
A future vision.
Exactly. So, based purely on the ideas we've explored from this text today, what might it mean for you to live with that specific future vision in mind? Something to consider.